Hello and welcome to my review of The Goodies, the complete BBC collection. Today we're up to The Goodies special, Superstar. Disgusted with the filthy songs in the hit parade, Tim decides that the Goodies should record a nice clean song of their own, but their efforts are derailed when Bill gets singled out for pop stardom. Under the influence of his manager, Bill is transformed into the glam rock star Randy Pandy. Can Graeme and Tim save Bill from a life of rock and roll excess? And does Bill want to be saved? This is a bit of an odd episode. I understand it was presented as a special and shown at a later time of night because it does contain a lot of more adult content. And I suppose this once again goes to show that although kids went crazy for the Goodies, it was not originally intended as a children's show. And there is indeed quite a lot of adult stuff in this episode. Some highlights of this episode for me included Tim's voiceovers. He does a couple of off-camera voices in this episode. The disgusted DJ on the radio, and also the pop star who's being dismembered by the groupies. I also loved Tim's cat's eye glasses. They were fantastic. The leopard print walls of the agent set I thought were amazing. I love this set when I first saw it. On closer inspection, you will see some surprising things in this set. I guess as a youngster watching this, I just didn't notice these things, but on this viewing, I noticed that behind the agent's desk where she's sitting, there is a sculpture of a bottom on the wall wearing a pair of open crotch leather bondage pants. And there is also a lot of bondage gear on the walls. Graeme plays the acoustic guitar in this episode, which I've never seen him doing before. What can't he do? I really liked the portrayal of the seedy Australian showbiz agent manager. I know this is a bit of a stereotype of an Australian woman, but I felt she got that cockatoo voice just right, that voice that I hear a lot of women around me have, which is very kind of shrill. I thought that was very well done. Beautifully observed. Bill's song, Mummy, I Don't Like My Meat, features in this episode, and I believe this was a song he'd perhaps originally written for I'm Sorry I'll Read That Again, because I do remember hearing that on an old cassette tape I had of that show. It is a fantastic song. Now, the sight of Bill lying on a huge circular bed surrounded by groupies in their underwear, I wasn't quite prepared for. I guess that's why this was more adult and shown at a later time. I loved Bill's gold lame dressing gown. I thought that was fantastic. Very Jason King. Graeme and Tim dressed as busty dolly birds trying to get into the audience of Top of the Pops was another highlight. John Peel popping up playing Jimmy Savile is a weird moment in the show. John Peel's doing an impression of Jimmy Savile and makes it very clear that he views Jimmy Savile with some contempt. Bill's glam makeup on his Top of the Pops appearance I thought was spectacular, and it made me think of Mark Bolan's sensational appearance on Top of the Pops when he first wore glitter. It's beautifully done, and the song itself that Bill is singing reminded me very much of the song Peter Cook sings in Bedazzled in the pop show scene of that movie. I also enjoyed Pan's Nuns in the Top of the Pops song and the Mincing Monks. The Goodies having a bit of fun sending up Jesus Christ Superstar in this show, as well as glam rock. Guest stars in this show were Barbara Mitchell, who's a familiar face from 1970s British comedy. Also John Peel, as we've mentioned before, the cult British DJ, and Julian Chagrin as the Max Bygraves type sleazy TV show host. Tim's leather outfit in this show is a bit of a showstopper, and I've got to say he looks pretty good in it. And Graeme's sunglasses in this same scene are fantastic. I would kill for a pair of sunglasses like that. But as many fun highlights as there are in this episode, there are also some things which strike the viewer today as kind of awkward. There's a bit where Tim and Graeme put on Groucho nose and glasses and a cigar, and they go into these Jewish stereotype characters as theatrical agents. And there's another bit where they pose as gay characters, and they're, super over the top gay stereotype characters. It's difficult to know how to view these today. We've got to remember that this was made 50 years ago when attitudes were quite different, and it was acceptable to portray people in ways that we would never portray them now. At the same time, though, as I've said before, The Goodies is a broad comedy that deals with broad comedic types. Everyone in the show is a kind of cartoon figure. The Australian character was a stereotype. And I guess at the same time that this is not great, I suppose we can balance it by saying that given what the Goodies were trying to do in other episodes about race, about women's liberation, about the environment, clearly their intentions were mostly, good. Their hearts were in the right place, but they didn't always succeed. I don't think these characterizations are coming from a place of hatred or malice. My feeling when watching it is not that they are trying to ridicule these types of people, but at the same time, I know that while a caricature stereotype of an Australian woman does not hurt me, other stereotypes about race, religion, sexuality, can hurt other people. So while I don't think the Goodies were, appalling monsters who should be cancelled, I think these elements which are dated and expose dated attitudes are always going to sit awkwardly with a modern audience. Equally, the bit about the Top of the Pops audience is kind of problematic today in the same way that that element of Way Outward Bound that I talked about last time, about views about underage girls. The sign that we see saying audience wanted must be over 16 but under 17 with big knockers, I think again shows very clearly the prevalent attitude of that time that underage girls were fair game. Now, whether the Goodies thought that that attitude was okay or they're holding it up here for ridicule, I think is an interesting question. The fact that they show the young women who are being brought into the studio audience as coming in on a cattle truck and treated like cattle, I think is kind of interesting. And of course, knowing what we know now about Top of the Pops and Jimmy Savile and the culture at the BBC at that time, the whole thing takes on kind of sinister dimensions which make it sort of uncomfortable to watch. The fact that we have John Peel playing the Jimmy Savile parody seems like, a good step because everyone loves John Peel. But let's not forget that for all the great things John Peel did, including promoting Mark, who I love, John Peel was married to a 15-year-old at one stage. So I don't know what to do with all that except to say that, yes, at one stage it was considered okay to do that, and it was probably legal to do that, I guess, in America where he did it. So the whole thing becomes kind of complicated and a bit awkward. Controversial elements aside, Superstar is kind of an interesting episode in that it seems to be a parody of glam rock and its sexually ambiguous styles and icons. This is an interesting and different episode, and it does have a much more adult feel. It feels like a much more sustained story and an attempt to do something a bit more ambitious, which I think we've got to admire even if it's not successful in everything that it does. And Bill is clearly having a great time playing the rock star in this episode. It really is a great vehicle for him. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you'll join me next time when we start Season 4 with Camelot. I hope I'll see you then. Bye.